And this isn't the trauma dump. I know that's the new supposed insult on these YouTube streets. I don't care. I'm not asking for anything. People were super generous the first time I asked when I was hospitalized for the hypocalcemia a couple of times. So there's no way I would ever bother people like that again. And we're good. It's Valentine's Day. I'm not going to be doing too much except doing the walking around that they want me to do. I took the softeners that they wanted me to take because I still have to take all the meds that I need to keep my calcium and vitamin D levels up. But I just wanted to give an update because I know I had planned to go live last Saturday. It was all ready. I had show notes, I had the videos that I was going to cover, both funky dealing with Chantel and fresh dealing with something more funny. And I just thought it would be an interesting way to do the stream. But unfortunately, I got woken up at like 5:30 that morning and I just did not feel well. And I was already having a bit of chest congestion, so I thought maybe it was that. But no, I just kept feeling like I was going to throw up, and then I threw up twice, which is not normal for me anymore. I try not to because of my history with bulimia. And so I was already concerned about that. Then I tried to actually go to the bathroom and it felt like I was going to pass out again. And that's never a good feeling. So Greg, who jumps up anytime I move now, was already at the door wondering what was wrong, what can be done. I tried to go lay down again because I thought maybe this is just, the cold, maybe it'll pass. I did not feel well at all. I got to the living room, I sat in a chair. He called an ambulance. They thought it might have been a kidney stone because I was feeling pressure in my lower back and stuff as well. We got to the ER in town and they started running all kinds of tests because they knew me by now because of the hypocalcemia stuff. And, they took blood and everything else, the usual, got the IV in because they thought it was going to be the calcium or kidney stone. And so when they got me in the MRI, the first thing they detected was a blockage. But they didn't tell me at first. They had to do another scan just to make sure. And they didn't want to use just a regular x ray machine, so they got me back in the room just to make double sure. I go back, and it's around 12 noon on Saturday when the doctor comes in and goes, well, we've got the good news for you and we've got the bad news for you. Which one do you want first? And me, thinking it was going to be a kidney stone being the worst of it, said, just give me the bad news, doc. They said, you got a bowel blockage. I was floored. And then he said, the good news is there's nothing wrong with your kidneys, which once again, being in the MRI, kidneys are okay, liver's okay, heart's okay, lungs okay, all my internal organs are fine. But my bowels were messed up. Because when I had the bariatric surgery a few years back, they had to realign some of my GI tract, which is not a fun thing, but it's what you got to do so that you can help yourself lose weight. Well, the ER also had to put in the GI tube. Now, if you don't know what a GI tube is, it is a long tube that they go into your nostril, and they did it in this nostril. I still feel kind of tingly from it. All the way down into your stomach to directly get things like contrast. Since I'm allergic to iodine, I can't have direct contrast like normal people, and other things. And they needed it to also help inflate so that maybe the pressure on my bowels could loosen the blockage. That was an ordeal. Then I had to take a trip back downstate to the main hospital. The ambulance drivers were amazing. They were so sweet. Got me down there. The people that brought me to the ER were also the people that brought me down. And it was just weird having that tube in me. I got to the hospital. This time I had a private room, which was very nice, but I was on a different floor for GI issues. The nurses there were on point. Anytime I needed something, I tried not to need anything because I was scared. If this was a serious blockage, then I was going to have to deal with surgery. I was just besides myself. Kiddo and Greg came down. He stayed with his parents who were in the Saginaw area so they could be closer to the hospital. And it was just an ordeal. But the surgeon came in, he goes, there is a slight blockage. I don't think it's big enough to warrant an operation. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hook you up to this machine that can both suck and just inflate, and we're gonna try to press that along with some softeners and stuff that I could take to ease the pressure and build up. I had already had some impact issues from the new medications and stuff that I had to deal with, but this was it was a blockage. But he did not think it was serious enough to warrant full surgery. They just wanted to see. So for Saturday, the rest of Saturday and Sunday, in the Monday, I had the GI tube in me, just inflating, and they did a contrast, and they kept checking my stomach to make sure things were moving out. I had to go through some stuff which is way too detailed and way too gross, and I will not put that on here. You will not have sound bites of me talking about what I had to go through to get the movement out. Just know that it was a team effort, and I am grateful for the team for taking one for me. It was not easy, y'all. And I'm glad that we caught it early enough before it became a serious thing, because people have died from blockages in their bowels and obstructions, especially. And I was lucky that they could do that method to move stuff along. And I have a new regiment to deal with. I have a follow up with my PCB again. My primary care physician is probably going to be tired of seeing me. But it's like it's been a domino effect since December. And I just want to get right. I want to be on the right path. I want to stop worrying my family. I want to get back to all the fun that I had planned. You know, I know that Heifer did a long ass rant about anti Semitism and how she didn't know. So she thinks ignorance is an excuse for not being sensitive to a word that has been historically used in context with calling Jewish people. It's a slur to them. And even though I, as a fantasy game player, understand that there are monster goblins, there are fantasy goblins, the word, when it used to call somebody of Jewish heritage, that is a slur. It is just like it was said to her by somebody who I called her biggest cheerleader, but I guess they had a falling out, calling black people monkeys, calling them little black bastards. After trying to crucify Shannon for allegedly liking a comment with the N word in it, then saying because you had somebody go into your phasmophobia public area and launch that word, well, why are people getting offended by it? I know there's a historical context about it, but I don't understand why they would get upset. It's just a word. And then when I went off on you, it said because black people have been dehumanized by that word, along with your little black bastards comment, you tried to walk it back. You have a whole history of bigotry, Foodie, including that little salute that a lot of the reaction channels have but edit out so that they don't get flagged for showing the full thing. You're constantly talking geopolitics that you do not understand the weight of. I suggest you either do more research or learn to shut the fuck up. I would tell you to get a life, but you can't. You spent your whole Valentine's Day instead of with your man staying offline, raging about FFG, trying to defend your bigoted anti Semitic comments, and just being mad and talking about things that you said you weren't going to talk about over 1,000 times by now. You've been on here 7 years and you've been a broken record of overeating, oversharing, raging, and fighting with everybody you think is your enemy. But if you didn't watch us, you wouldn't know what we were saying about you. But y'all, I promise you, I am taking it easy. I'm about to do another little walk because keeping mobile will help with any kind of buildup and pressure. I just wanted to give you a positive update. I wanted to wish any of you who celebrate a happy Valentine's Day. For me, it's not my favorite holiday at all. It's super commercialized. But I did tell Greg, since he was a trooper, like constantly down there talking with the doctors, talking with nurses, seeing what we could do. He was there on Monday when they I really wanted that GI tube out when they started getting actual movement and stuff. And he was there when the doctor took that out, and it was so much easier getting it out of me than it was putting in me. Oh, But when I say he was just so amazing, his parents were amazing. When they let us go on Tuesday, it was into the evening because they wanted to test solid foods because I had been on liquids that whole entire weekend for obvious reasons. And then they gave me solids. I was able to keep those down. I didn't have any nausea. I didn't have any violent reactions. So by 5:30, they were like, no, you're clear to go home. But the clearance surgeon got pulled into an operation, so I had to wait. And it's a busy hospital, so I wasn't mad at it. But we would have liked to have gotten home a bit earlier. I got home almost because we're really out in Upper Michigan. So we got home after stopping by the store to get some more softeners and stuff for my system almost at 7:30, and that was with stops and waiting because we had to head to the Meyer and stuff. So it was a busy time, but I was listening to FFG that entire time and listening to her go, well, I didn't know, so it doesn't matter. Her chat encouraging her to do things like sue and bringing up another lawsuit, which I can explain without bringing anybody's names into it. But they were trying to bring up another YouTuber suing a fellow YouTuber for some heinous slander that the accused was blobbing against the plaintiff. And I don't know all the situation. I just heard a lot of receipts and sound bites from the person they were taking to court. They accused the plaintiff of some really heinous, like complete life and reputation damaging things. They accused them of very serious sexual allegations against younger people, which was not true, was not founded to be true by the judge. And that is why that person was able to win their suit. So when Chantel says things like, I can sue because that person won, when you only have, well, this person supposedly stalked me because they went to a fashion show that I invited everybody. They got a cat that I was seriously neglecting and abusing. They are constantly reacting to my content. You might find a lawyer that's willing to try to create a case, but you got to realize that the person you're accusing and trying to sue has an archive of your antics, has a lucrative side channel that they use to react to your content, which is covered by fair use. They do not stalk you because they have credible reason to come to that area. And on top of that, you are documenting, accusing them of murdering animals and of that serious minor allegation that could get you in a lot of trouble. You also mentioned Judge Judy, who happens to be of the Jewish faith, which somebody in my comment section let me know about, which I appreciate. My community tab was just full of love. But you also need to understand that that's in America, dum dum. You are in Canada. Lawsuits or lawsuits, as I'm going to call your nonsense, are not as easy as the slap suits that some people try to get here. You will not be able to file suit in America because your beef with FFG is a Canadian one. She has plenty of reason to countersue you with your own words. And you will be in far more trouble than you even know for even trying that. But on top of that, the funniest part is we all know that you were even too lazy to give your cat away properly. You made Pete's do it. You don't put effort, you're work allergic. So the whole idea of you suing anybody for talking bad about you, and especially YouTube has had some credible and non-credible lawsuits against them for years. And because of their lawyers, because of their big ability to prove that we're responsible for our content on here, you do not have a case. You can try to call us reacting to your videos bullying. You can try to say we're a hate mob. You can say whatever you want. That is just lobbied down to your opinion. But what you got to stop doing is letting your beezers talk you into trying to file a lawsuit. And to you beezers, this is directly to you because I know that yous are trying to amp her up no matter what. There are probably a few yous that really are supportive and think she's just a pitiable figure. But I'm telling you what, if you give her money for a GoFundMe lawsuit, you will just be funding her feeding herself. That money will go to mukbangs. That money will go to anything but an actual lawsuit, because Chantel knows she doesn't have a credible suit. She doesn't want to go back to Canada for the amount of work and stuff that's going to take, even if she can use it for an actual visa run. She was pissed off yesterday because yesterday was Valentine's Day for them, even though they don't really celebrate that. And she realized that she doesn't have the couples channel anymore. Her man isn't there, no matter how much she tries to convince us, because you can't be up that late at night raging and acting the fool with somebody living with you. I waited until this morning to do any kind of content for respect for myself and my healing, for respect to my partner, not waking him up, for respect to kiddo. You know, I got family that I care about that I don't want to inconvenience just to call the heifer out. That's why I wanted Saturday afternoons to be the day that I do the weekly live on here. I want to, fingers crossed, still bring that funky fresh stream to the YouTube streets, but I have got to be careful. I am going to put my health first. I definitely have more than enough material to call the heifer out, especially if I take a couple of days and she actually does try a cooking video, which I know she's going to try to prove, especially after that double dip debacle with the sushi and the subs. We know it was the same day, heifer. And I know when you said technically, it's like you just waited till midnight to order one or the other. You're a tragic mess, and you know it. But I just wanted to give you an update, tell you that I'm home. As you can see, I am doing my best to do better. I'm going to do the follow up with the primary care physician. I'm going to get a recommendation for an OBGYN, because it really is hard to find a female that's accepting new patients out here. So I'm going to see what the doctor recommends me to do, because even though the fibroids that keep saying they're benign, they are big enough to where they could cause issues. And even if it's to get just a replacement IUD so I can get more hormones to help shrink some of the stuff, I'd rather do that than to consider a full hysterectomy right now, because there's still stuff in the plans for Greg and I's future. We've had several real talks about it, and we're still on the same page of at least wanting to try before, but it really does go with what the doctors recommend. So that is my update. That's a little bit of calling out Chantel. I hope you don't mind that I didn't have any videos or stuff, but you can go back and watch the video where I called her out for trying to justify why the M word and other things weren't so bad. And even though she understood the historical connotations, she was just trying to defend herself while still trying to throw Shannon under the bus. And I'm sorry. I know people are going to call me a hypocrite for not calling out Shannon for blindly liking a thing and allegedly replying. I don't care. There's a difference between liking what somebody else said, because sometimes people don't read the comments. I do, because of the stuff I talk about. But there is a difference between just trying to engage your audience, just blindly checking like and maybe replying haha or something, than getting her dead to rights saying something bigoted. Foodie and whoever's in her ear was trying really hard to make that more of a thing so that they can use that against FFG. And even if it was Shannon being that way, it has nothing to do with anybody else. FFG is not her mom. Y'all just want to hold things against people that they're not in control of. And I don't like that shit. I'm only responsible for myself and the child I birth. I'm not responsible for people on YouTube. If my friends mess up, depending on the severity, I'll call them out. But you're not going to break up an actual friendship over a comment being liked. And it is not the same as letting somebody into your lobby, having them drop that, and instead of all out condemning what they said, completely shutting it down and not bringing it up, also in the same fucking vein, saying something like, well, I don't understand why people still get upset over that word. It's just about skin color. Foodie, you're a bigot. You know it. I know it. Everybody who has watched you over the years know it. You need help, but you're not going to get it. I know you think this world revolves around you and you're doing damage control before the Mr. Snowflake drop, but I'm telling you what, you are doing yourself more damage doing your damage control. And your beezers are not there to help you. But I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you all for watching and listening to this health update. Salamai calling out the heifer. I hope to be back in the swing of things by Friday night. I have to do some research and show notes, but if I'm not feeling it, I will let you know ahead of time too. I've got to get caught up on so much stuff, and burping still. I've got to get my writing and stuff taken care of. So I really do thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all soon.